There's a pretty good chance that if you grew up in either the United States or the UK, you have seen this TV show on screen. Its name is The Biggest Loser. It ran from 2004 to 2020, and it basically consists of getting a bunch of overweight people a chance to win $250,000 to whoever loses the most weight. The show was praised by some as they stated it created awareness for the current obesity problems in the modern world. And the show even went on to win several industry awards, including the ASCAP, Film and Television Music Awards, and the Directors Guild of America, USA, won for outstanding directing. The show was really good at documenting the fast weight loss of contestants, but what it didn't show you was a long-term weight sustainability that they had after leaving. So I'm going to play a game. On screen now, there are 3 options to choose from, and I want you to pick the option you think correlates with how many people after leaving the show gained back some of the weight they lost, or all the weight completely. If you guess 20 or 40%, you are wrong. And if you guess 60, you are also wrong by over 30%. According to a paper published by Aaron Fothergill et al. In the National Library of Medicine, researchers followed 14 contestants during and after 6 years of one season of the show, with each contestant monitored having lost an average weight of over 100 pounds each. The result? All but one subject regained the weight that they had at the start of the show, and 5 of them were within 1% or more. That means if you took every single person alive on Earth right now, you made them overweight, and put them in the exact same diet as this reality TV show, after 6 years, 7.7 billion people would have gained back a significant amount of the weight they lost, or gained it back entirely, and some, whilst also dramatically impacting their hormonal and metabolic pathways. This is caused by the implementation of crash diets on the TV show, where the dietitians allocated a drastically reduced number of calories consumed compared to their daily maintenance, crashing their metabolism into fight or flight mode, and leading leptin levels to plummet. Leptin being the hunger hormone located in the adipose tissue or fatty tissue of the human body. And this rendered contestants constantly hungry. Obviously, not everybody in the world is going to crash diet, and the sample size of 14 participants isn't enough to generalize the world population. But it does raise some interesting questions around correlating weight loss management and diet effectiveness, and showed us that a short-term success may lead to long-term failure. But that doesn't make weight loss any less of a problem. In fact, if you live in a Western country like the UK or United States, there is a very high chance that you yourself have tried and failed a diet at some point in your life, me included. So that begs the question, if most people fail their diets, at least at one point in their life, why does both our psychology and biology make it so hard? And also, what is the most effective way to lose weight? And that's exactly what I'm going to try to explain throughout the rest of this video. My name is Andrew Shattuck. I'm a graduate sports and exercise scientist. I'm currently undergoing a successful diet and I've lost over 40 pounds and kept it off. In my channel, I document my weight loss journey while also studying to be an SCNR accredited nutritionist. I use my small channel as a platform to promote awareness around healthy living and for people who have struggled to lose weight like me. And in order to do this, I'm trying to grow my reach as much as possible so one day I can do interviews with professional nutritionists and sports scientists to learn the best information I can. And if you want to be part of that journey, I'd really appreciate it if you left a like, subscribed, or an interesting comment. I will get back to all of them so we can grow this channel to what it wants to be. But let's get back to how to successfully lose weight, unlike our friends from The Biggest Loser. In order to keep this explanation concise, I'll be separating this video into 3 main reasons why people struggle to lose weight. And at the end of the video, I'll explain the best ways you can combat this and have a successful diet, starting with our evolution. In order to understand the underlying effects of increased weight gain, we first have to understand what causes it. And the simple answer is something you've heard over 1,000 times, a calorie surplus. This happens when you consume more calories than your body burns over a certain time period, otherwise known as your maintenance. The most common time frame for this is 1 day. And just as a side note, if you're curious about your maintenance and how to calculate it, there's loads of online calculators online. I'll include one in the description that you can use, but just be worried that a lot of them either ask you for a subscription, a payment, or try to sell you a weight loss targeting product. Don't accept any of those. Use the one in the description as it's free and it won't charge you anything. But let's get back to the point. Let's say you eat around 100 calories, around half a Domino's cookie a day in surplus. At the beginning, it won't affect you at all, but if you eat this surplus consecutively, it can add up over time. And that's when the problems can really occur. To visualize this, I want you to imagine a kilo of human body fat, which is around 7.7 thousand calories. That's around 2.2 pounds of body fat for our American viewers. Let's say you eat that 100 calories over your surplus consecutively over a year. At 365 days, you would have gained 4.75 kilos or 10.45 pounds of body fat, additionally to what you started with. To further emphasize my point, I'm going to give you an example. Let's say you start off eating in a surplus at the age of 25. And you weigh around 180 pounds. If you ate 100 calorie surplus each day for the following 10 years, and if you imagine your maintenance calories doesn't change, so it does normally, either goes down or go up depending on your activity level. By the age you are 35, you will end up weighing approximately 285 pounds. You may think this example is unrealistic, but according to the National Center of Health Statistics, between half and 1/3 of US adults are not just overweight, but obese. A factor heavily contributed by human beings as a whole being attracted to high-calorie foods due to a combination of deeply ingrained evolutionary, biological, and physiological factors, as our brains are wired to seek out high-energy dense foods. A trait which is amazing when you're trying to fight off a tiger and living in a cave, but in today's society can be quite detrimental to your health if you don't watch it, especially in today's environment of abundance. Which gets me to my next reason why people struggle to eat weight: the presence of ultra-processed foods, or UPFs. If you live in a food-stable country, you live in a world where buying high-calorie, nutrient-lacking foods is the easiest it's ever been in human history, with big corporations fighting over who can engineer the cheapest mass-produced foods to become the most addictive as possible in order to sell as much product as they can to gain as much money as possible. It's an endless loop, people. Essentially benefiting off your evolutionary want for high-calorie food, a fact that is especially prevalent if you live in the US. But it's not just a Western problem. In order to demonstrate this, I've attached two graphs on screen that show the correlation between UPFs and adult obesity rates in two separate studies done within the Chinese population. Pretty crazy. Since the mass availability of UPFs, the Chinese obesity rates have gone from just over 2% to over 7% in 2016, with more recent estimates being around 16.4%. This is a massive problem. Like, a massive problem, dude. And while I'm writing the script for this video, I'm thinking about how this could affect my children, because I honestly don't see much being done to prevent this. And that leads me to my third point of why it's so hard to lose weight: normalization of obesity in society. For this, I'm going to read the script of the introduction of a paper published in the National Library of Medicine written by Chris Patterson and Shiona Hilton. A paper where they tracked over 3,000 UK articles that had obesity in their title, and I've extracted a snippet that demonstrates my point, which states the following. Explanations for the causes of obesity have changed over time. Focus has recently shifted somewhat away from viewing obesity as a consequence of negative individual behavior and towards viewing it as a societal and environmental phenomenon, and one that can be viewed as a natural human response to overwhelming environmental influence. In their history of the medicalization of obesity, Chang and Christakis, sorry if I pronounced that wrong, observed that initially cast as a social parasite, the obese patient has later transformed into a social victim, underpinning the structurally driven obesity epidemic in the obesogenic environment, a combination of feature of the past industrial-built economic, political, and social cultural environments that create barriers to healthy eating and active lifestyles. Hill and colleagues suggest that, in pursuit of the good life, people have created an environmental and society that has unintentionally promoted weight gain and obesity, given people's genetic and biological makeup. Essentially what this section of the paper is trying to say, that people have gone from seeing obesity as a negative behavior response to a society-based problem, where people blame the world they live in for weight gain. And this isn't very good, but there's some things that you can do to drastically increase your chances of a successful and healthy lifestyle. And I have separated these into three sections. The first thing you have to do is acknowledge you are playing at a disadvantage. Look around your house right now. Do you have easy access to UPFs? Does the people you either live with or spend a lot of time with eat a lot of chocolate or other processed foods? Is there something happening in your life right now that you can change that is hindering your physical activity? Do you go out with friends on a regular and eat bad food? Can you change your lunch to a slightly healthier option? Acknowledge that there is stuff that is currently hindering your lifestyle and take note of it. All things that most people take at face value, but are increasing your chances of failure. And I'm not saying leave home or stop being friends with people. It's just as simple as acknowledging where you're likely to fail and develop strategies around it that decrease that percentage. It can be as simple as taking 15 minutes after watching this video and writing down all the things that come to mind. Once you have an overview of the environmental factors that could be hindering your performance, you can now move on to the next step, which is being realistic with your expectations. How much weight can you actually lose? And what would I have to change in order to lose it? You know how I said previously that a surplus of 100 calories can make you gain 10 pounds? That exact same logic within a deficit can help you lose 10 pounds. On the same hypothetical piece of paper that you wrote down previously, write down what an average day and week of eating currently looks for you. I'm not saying every ingredient, but just like the main meals. Once you do this, you can get a good grasp of what you're currently eating, and you can either remove or replace certain foods that are hindering your success. I love saying success. It's just a beautiful word. Success, success. In reality, it's just weight loss. And if you physically can't reduce your current calorie intake, or if it's not safe because it's already low, you can always do the same with asking yourself what activity or exercises can you do to increase your maintenance calories, or just add on exercise to burn more. Now, you may have noticed that I have now changed my shirt and clothes and environment. It's because the GoPro turned off, so we're gonna get straight back into the video. As I said previously, if it's not safe for you to reduce your calorie intake, and you've already looked about increasing your output, you can now probably move on to the most important stage of this video, which is calculate your daily maintenance calories. So you've now mentally or manually written down the previous 2 points. It's now time to see what your body is actually spending on a day-to-day basis. And as I said previously in the video, this step is actually really easy. All you gotta do is go down in the description and click on the calorie maintenance calculator, put some of your metrics like height, weight, age, and activity level, and it'll give you a rough estimate of how much you're spending just to keep yourself alive. Now you've done that, grab the same piece of paper that you used or your mental checklist and write down how much weight you realistically want to lose in a year. Now, it's very important that you're realistic with this number because every calorie that you reduce may have metabolic and hormonal effects, and this could potentially hinder your success. So add a number which you think is realistic. To show you what this could look like, I'm going to give you 2 examples on screen. One is named Jerry, and the other one is called Patricia. Both of these subjects are currently listed as overweight. Jerry's calculated maintenance calories are currently 2,500 per day, and Patricia's are around 2,100. A safe but sustainable amount of weight loss would sit around 10% below their maintenance. If you extrapolate this 10% below their maintenance, this would look like a deficit for 250 calories for Jerry, 2,250 daily intake, and 210 below for Patricia, 1,900 daily. If they did this successfully for a year and their maintenance didn't go up or down, this would lead Jerry to lose 11.85 kgs or 26 pounds of body fat, and Patricia to lose around 10 kgs or 22 pounds. In order to calculate how much you could potentially lose, all you have to do is get this yearly calculated loss by multiplying the daily calorie deficit by 365, or days in a year, divided by 7,700, which is the calories in a kilogram of body fat. If you want to go further in depth, you can then divide this number by 12 months, and you can get an estimate of how much weight you should be losing per month to reach your target. But it's very important to note that weight loss isn't always linear, and depending on your skeletal glycogen, the amount of sodium in your system, the activities you've done previously, you may be depleted. Therefore, we recommend that if you're going to weigh yourself, don't do it every single day. Choose one day per week, preferably one that you have more free time. To get an accurate weight measurement, I recommend not eating a very high sodium or carb diet the day before. Make sure you eat a couple hours before you go to bed, and then when you wake up, fast for a little bit and then weigh yourself. This is in order that you can do all your bodily functions in the morning and then get an accurate weight estimate without anything in your system. Okay, so now let's go to the important part. What should you be doing right now that you may not be doing? You first need to understand what your environment looks like. List any realistic changes that you can make that can facilitate your weight loss. Then calculate your daily deficit using the online calculator that I gave you previously, and track yourself each month to see if you're on track. If you do these 3 things, your chances of losing weight increase by a lot. And in reality, they're not massive drastic changes, they're just consistent over time. That's what I did to lose over 40 pounds in 120 days, and that's what you can do to do the exact same. I make these videos because I really want to help people that are in my situation or are currently trying to be fitter. If you could give this video a follow, a like, or any comment that I can answer, it will help the algorithm, as one day, hopefully I can become a YouTuber and do this full time. But for now, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Andrew Shattuck, and I'll catch you in the next one.